Speaking with Fox News Digital, Republican Senator Rob Portman said, quote, "Of course sanctions deter," but he went on to say they must be structured to be impactful to work. Joining us now is Ari Aramesh, who's a national security and foreign policy expert. Ari, thanks very much for joining us this evening. I want to get at this idea of when sanctions could have or should have been implemented here. Would there have been more of a deterrent effect had they not been previewed but implemented before the invasion?
The sanctions can have a range of impacts and effects depending on what sanctions and when and how you implement them. In this particular case, it seems the administration wanted to play its cards rather carefully. On the one hand, they were pretty convinced and they had pretty good solid intelligence early on that the Russian Federation was going to take military action and invade Ukraine. The CIA director Burns went to Moscow in November and presented American intelligence and American evidence that, hey, we know you guys are going to do this. Question is, would it have been prudence at the time to also implement a pretty tough sanctions package to deter Putin? Or would that have been interpreted in the Kremlin as, hey, these guys are going to sanction us anyway, so we might as well go out and do this? In this case, though, I don't think this particular scenario, sanctions could have really played a preventative or a deterrent measure, but they can play a big role punishing Russia. They can play a big role providing a temporary economic pinch. But more importantly, they can provide a long-term crippling effect on the Russian economy, on the Russian military, and on Russian scientific and military development going down the road.
What about the other U.S. timing here in waiting for after the invasion? You've seen a response from the Europeans that I don't think too many people saw coming until after the invasion happened, a coordination and a willingness to go a lot further than they had been saying even 2 or 3 weeks before the invasion.
You know, I think even though there was plenty of evidence and there was plenty of intelligence showing that the Russians are determined to invade Ukraine, that President Putin is going to use this as his personal political pet project to invade a sovereign democratic country, I still believe some in Europe did not believe this until the last minute. Despite all warnings coming from Washington and also warnings coming from London, many in Europe did not believe that would happen. There were people on the ground in Ukraine that didn't believe that would happen. So I think part of the reason, not only we didn't want to sort of push Putin to the point of madness and saying, hey, I got no option but to invade. But also I think there was a bit of a disbelief. That's why these sanctions packages were not put in place to deter and to prevent Russia from going to war. But could they have played a role? I think so. I think a good sanctions package a month or 2 months before the invasion, when Russia was actually building up multiple infantry, mechanized, and armored divisions in Ukraine, in Belarus in the north, Russia in the east, and also mobilizing its troops in the Southern Command from Crimea, bringing it up north, the U.S. could have possibly brought sanctions. The question is this: that you can't really tell a country what to do on their own soil, because you can't really tell the world that we know for sure, unless you want to show them classified information, that they are going to invade. So we had to wait for them to make a mistake, to commit a crime, and then punish them for it. So it's tricky. Sometimes they can deter, sometimes they can punish. Another case of sanctions back in the Obama administration, the very comprehensive sanctions measures against Iran were neither to deter nor punish. They were designed to bring the Iranians to the negotiating table over their nuclear program. Now, yes, they did punish Iran for its nuclear violations. They did punish Iran for not coming to the table. But the main objective there was to bring the Iranians to the negotiating table. It worked. Maximum pressure under President Trump. Again, designed to deter and alter and change Iranian behavior.
Ari,
effective in some ways, not effective in some ways.
All right, thanks so much for your perspective on this. And we've been hearing a lot of sanctions talk for decades now, but I think we're going to continue to hear a lot more of this in this case. Ari Aramesh, thanks very much for joining us.